With me, I've got a very special guest, John Chapman of the 49ers Rush podcast. We're going to be breaking that down and then doing a fun little exercise after that, right after this.
Let's go get him. Let's go get him today, man. Let's go. Hey, dominate on three. 1, 2, 3. Dominate.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Rohan Chakravarthi, host of the 49ers RedZone podcast. And with me, I've got a very special guest today, as I said, John Chapman. John, how are you doing today?
Man, I'm feeling a little amped up after that intro, man. Got me moving a little bit. So I'm feeling good. We got some fun news to talk about. We're getting closer and closer to training camp, and I'm excited to be on here with you, Rohan. Big fan of what you do. Your positivity, freaking so stinking much despite being so young. It's incredible. Glad to be here with you, man.
Thank you. And as always, your chat is buzzing. We see the hashtag CC all over already. Thank you all for tuning in. And yeah, we are closer to training camp. We're about 3 weeks or so away. And we got to get some news out of the way. Baker Mayfield was just traded to the Carolina Panthers this morning. Something a little unexpected. We haven't heard much of the Baker Carolina front as of late. A lot of the talk has been with Seattle. And then we just get the trigger just in the morning out of nowhere. Baker Mayfield moved for a 2024 conditional fifth-round pick. Now, while we laugh about that, what do you think about the trade?
I love it. I think, well, first off, Baker playing in Carolina is wonderful in and of itself. He deserves to be on a very bad team. I just don't see how this will pan out well for him. But I also love it because the Browns got screwed over financially. They got nothing back for a number 1 overall pick in the draft. They got a future 5th rounder, and they had to eat a lot of his salary. But probably the reason why I like it the most, I truly do believe this helps the 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo getting moved eventually. Doesn't mean it's a lock, but I would say the chances of Jimmy G getting traded now are significantly higher than they were just a few short hours ago.
Interesting. And I mean, as we've seen this entire offseason, right? It's a domino type of effect, right? You got to get one domino to fall for the next. And Jimmy Garoppolo, unfortunately, has been that back burner kind of guy every single time. And to you, you just said you think he gets traded. The likelihood has gotten higher. I actually thought the opposite. I honestly thought because there's a lack of a market right now, that it actually increased his chances of being released just because the Cleveland Browns, who I anticipate will end up with Garoppolo on the free agency market, don't have an incentive to trade for him given the lack of other suitors and likely get him on the open market because Jim Garoppolo wants to go to a situation that's most beneficial to him.
It is possible. There's no doubt. My biggest issue with that is Kyle Shanahan's stubbornness. I think that might make the most sense whenever you look at it like, oh, yeah, they're probably going to release him, move on. Shanahan is stubborn. And so I have a hard time with him just saying, you know what, let's just wash our hands and move on. Plus, that would increase the likelihood of maybe Jimmy G landing in the division with Seattle, which I know Shanahan doesn't want. So it's a possibility. I do believe that if I could put Jimmy Garoppolo on any team in the NFL, it'd be the Browns. Dominant defense, strong run game, good old line. It just makes sense. And with Cleveland, all of this is dependent upon a year-long suspension of Deshaun Watson, which I think will happen. So there's still a couple more things that need to go through there. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. My thing is, even if it made the most sense, Shanahan is so stubborn. I just cannot see him moving off and just say, you know what, we're done. Let's just move on. I just don't see it, but I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, Rohan.
Yeah,
Today.
I have, and our good friend Barry Baller says Jimmy has no trade value, while Collie follows up with Jimmy is getting cut. Those two are that could be true. In the next 3 weeks, we will figure out pretty much whether Garoppolo will end up on this roster going into training camp, whether he's moved after following that physical. But as of now, that inflection point is the physical. Nothing will
And also,
happen.
Yeah. And, one thing I do want to add is the 49ers save the exact same amount of cap space if they cut him now or if they cut him after the preseason at the, initial 53-man roster. So, again, back to the stubbornness. If they do release him, it's not going to be until right before, because, again, there's no incentive to release him early. You would have released him during a free agency and spent that money, but it's going to be a while. So, a team like Cleveland or Seattle that might land him, you have to basically say, all right, we're going to have to bring him in and he's going to get zero work in training camp.
Yeah, and I
We'll see
mean,
here.
that one point that you bring up is very interesting, right? The 49ers don't have to release him once he's healthy. They can wait until afterwards. And the one benefit that they get from that, which it might not be enjoying Garoppolo, right? But at this point, it doesn't really matter because Garoppolo essentially forced the 49ers' hands in this situation by getting that surgery. But if you wait that long, then it's tougher for Garoppolo to find a home because it's so close to the regular season. And if his primary goal is to start, he might have to wait for an injury because
Yeah.
every other team has been gone through training camp, has found out who their starter is going to be, and has already implemented their playbook, which Garoppolo would not know prior to that time. And so that is a very good point. It's not like you sign a starter a week before and anoint him your starter for the 17-week period. There might need to be some time in between, a transitional period, and that might also ruin the chemistry that you've already developed throughout the couple months of the offseason that have already passed.
I like it, man. Well said. And it's a weird time. Like, we're not used to getting the shifting of quarterbacks this late, but it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun. I hope Jimmy gets moved for everybody's sake. I mean, Jimmy deserves to be a starting quarterback for a team.
Right.
And no matter if you're, a team Lance or a team Jimmy guy, we're all team 49ers. And he has brought back this franchise. Might not have been the best quarterback ever and definitely got some rough games in there. But man, Jimmy's a good dude and he's done right by the 49ers. And so wanting positive outcome for all involved. Win-win situations are best for everybody.
Yeah, definitely. And that could definitely still happen because there are suitors. So talking about those suitors, you said that you believe that that trade kind of chance has increased. Who do you think could be moved for Garoppolo?
If it was Cleveland, like again, okay, the 2024 fifth rounder that they got for Baker definitely has undercut the market tremendously. But it's not so much about the draft pick compensation. I think a fourth rounder this year would be more than enough to get it done, or a pick swap, even where the 49ers give up a sixth to get a fourth back, something along those lines. But if I had my way, okay, if I was the general manager for the 49ers, I'd want Jacoby Brissett back. I think he would be an absolute ideal candidate. I don't think that they could swing that. I think the 49ers would have to actually add something to get him just because he's on a team friendly deal. But yeah, fourth rounder. But man, I'd love to get Brissett back. I like Sudfeld. I don't like him as the quarterback too. That scares me a little bit.
And that Brissett option is very interesting because Brissett is on a very, very backup friendly contract. He's getting 4.6 million in guaranteed money. And when you look at the other contracts that were had this offseason, right? Like a Mitch Trubisky got more money. All the other backups, even Tyrod Taylor got 2 years, $18 million, right? All these quarterbacks got a lot more money than Jacoby Brissett did. So he'd be still a pretty favorable backup. And obviously the 49ers shed salary. The one thing that I'll say that's interesting, even though the Browns might not be a suitor, like I've said earlier today, the Browns have $48 million in cap space.
Yeah, no,
48,
most in the NFL.
yeah, they are most, and I think they're double the next team. The Bears have 23 million. The Browns have now doubled that amount of cap space, and what they seem to, or what they want to do with that cap space has yet to be seen. And remember, Deshaun Watson isn't on a big deal. His cap hit for this year, I don't know why the Browns did what they did, anticipating the suspension, but
Yes.
his cap hit for this year is $1.1 million. That's all he stands to lose. Just Jacoby Brissett right now is their biggest cap hit at 4.6 million, and I don't think Watson gets his money if he gets suspended. So
No.
having Jimmy Garoppolo's salary, I don't think is as like I don't think it's a non-starter, right? Because of the amount of salary cap that they have. What do you think about that?
Exactly. Yeah, you nailed it, man. And I think the 49ers would have to eat some of that salary, yeah,
Right.
just like the Browns did. But again, a lot of people keep saying like, oh, well, we have to release them or whatever, get this number off the book for the Debo deal. I don't think so. The Debo deal is going to get done and it's going to be fine in its current situation. What I do believe that the Garoppolo cap hit does affect is the Bosa deal next
Mm,
year.
yeah.
Not saying you can't get Bosa done if you keep Jimmy this year, but it makes it a lot easier because you'll be able to roll that forward and post a deal instead of backloading it, which that might be one of the biggest deals in the history of the NFL, deservingly so. Love to see people get paid, but it would be nice for it to be a little more cap friendly if you do move on from Jimmy. So that's one of the asterisks I'd say that you want to watch for is Debo's done. That's going to get done. I can assure you that the Bosa deal will get done, but man, it would make it so much easier if you got Jimmy's numbers off the books now.
Yeah, most definitely. And I'm a numbers guy, right? I've analyzed this a bit with Nick Bosa and Debo Samuel, and really, what players do, right? Their base salary is completely decreased when they sign these extensions in the first year, at least. And what increases is that signing bonus, right? That's the only number that really matters in year one. And if you're getting like just looking at numbers, Terry McLaurin got 28 million as a signing bonus. I don't think Debo Samuel eclipses that because he'll eclipse Terry McLaurin and other receivers in other numbers like guaranteed money, guaranteed at
Yep.
signing, and AV. But even if it's in the range of 22, 25 million, guess what? You spread that over 4 years, that's about $5 million that is a part of the cap hit. Debo Samuel's current cap hit for this year, I believe, is 4.89 million. So it would increase a bit. And then Nick Bosa, like you said, is the big fish, right? Because Bosa's cap hit right now is 10 million. He's got the $17.8 million fifth-year option next year, and his cap hit likely increases a good amount too.
Yeah.
And while the 49ers have some cap space right now. I forget the exact amount. It's around 3 to 4 million. But for the 49ers to have both of those deals done this offseason, if that's what they want, they might need to make an additional move away from Garoppolo's contract to have that done. And instead of doing that additional move and hurting yourself in the future, why not just make the move itself and move Jimmy Garoppolo?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I don't think Bosa wants his deal done this year because he's going for the record-setting deal, and he's not in a rush to get paid. His family's pretty well off. But Debo will get done in training camp. I'd say anywhere in about 3 weeks' time. Right
Yeah,
at the start of August is whenever I think he'll get paid. But Bosa, I don't even think neither side's even talking about a deal right now, so that's not going to be something until after this year.
exactly. Like Shanahan said it, they haven't even started talks at the end of OTAs. And you're right. Debo Samuel's deal likely gets done before he even steps on the field for training camp or right when he does it. And I think that deal will be done. And it seems like we do have the cap space for that. But
Right.
Jimmy Garoppolo, right now, it's unknown. The next point that we got to see is when does he pass that physical? When does he start throwing? And then we can start re-entering all these trade talks or release talks. That is.
I love it. I love it, man. I love it.
Yeah, but
Now
John,
I'm pumped. I think are we going to compete against each other, Rohan? I want to go at it, man. Let's do this.
I've been seeing yours and Wayne shows, and I've been seeing Coach John coming out of there. I'm the rookie, but I want to be the challenger. I've seen y'all do these offense versus offense battles, defense versus defense battles, and then team battles. Let's start off with the strong suit of the 49ers right now. Let's go with the defense. Why don't we just do a little one-on-one battle, see who can get the better team, and have the chat decide who drafted the better team? How about that?
I like it, man. I like it. I wish you the best of luck, and I hope that you lose miserably.
Uh, Nothing but some competition here. So let's get this started. So we've got all the positions laid out. We've got 4 defensive line spots. We've got the 3 linebacker spots. We've got our corners, and we've got our safeties. So how should we decide who gets pick number 1? Do you want to go for it?
Oh man, you get to go first, man. Yeah, it's you got this. I'll give you the Bosa, and then we'll go from there, man.
Yeah. So like you said, if I get pick 1, I'm going Nick Bosa. No doubt about it.
I think you have to. I mean, and we joked around, me and Wayne, is as soon as I picked Bosa, it was already over. So let's see if we can climb out of this. Now, real quick, Rohan, is this a snake draft? Do I get picks 2 and 3, or is it just back and forth?
Let's go snake. Let's go. You get 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and on and on.
Okay. Let's do if that's the case, I'm sticking with all pro Fred. I got to throw him in there. So Fred Warner's going to be my first pick. I freaking he's such a stud. He changes everything. And this is where it starts to get difficult, but I'm going to go Jimmy Ward. I'm going to try to build my team up the middle as a coach. And so like that's what I'm going with. I want Jimmy Ward, put him in there, and then I turn it back over to you with your Bosa, man. It's already so top heavy. Oh, I'm already mad.
This is interesting. I've done one of these drafts before, and I actually didn't end up with the two players you just named, Warner and Jimmy Ward, and it was fairly split. So I want to see who ends up winning this one. So just to squeeze you in because I like myself some of that defensive line. I'm just going straight at it. Let's get Armstead right on the books. Let's
Oh, look
go.
at that, man.
Osa Armstead, the top two defensive linemen on the team. Let's go for it. And before we continue, Kali says John and Rohan, the professor and the junior.
I love
I'm
it, man.
rookie. I
Colley's
got
the
to challenge
best.
the experience one, yeah. But okay, so we've got Armstead on the books now. I think with my second pick, you went secondary, so I've got to follow with that and make sure I get the number one corner on our team, and that's Charvarius Ward. I think I've got to
Yeah.
go with cornerback number one and fill that hole.
All right. Yeah, you've got a good squad. All right, here we go. On my side, I am going back-to-back defensive line. I'm going
Okay.
Javon Kinlaw and Drake Jackson. I got a
Ooh,
match here, DEDT mix. So I got the big Kinlaw there, and I love me some Drake Jackson. And here's my favorite thing. Like in this exercise, it shows how valuable Drake Jackson is. But here's the luxury that the 49ers currently have. He gets to sit and just come in and spot duty and just pass rush. If we had to divide the team up in two, that'd be one thing. But look at that starting four, right? Bosa,
yeah.
Armstead, Kinlaw, Jackson. That's just spoils, man. We're spoiled with the personnel that's on this side of the ball.
Exactly, because you've got like the youth, right, in Jackson and Kinlaw that still have all the potential in the world, and you've got the experienced guys that are on essentially going to be under contract for the next couple of years. This group of four is going to be a force to reckon with for years to come, for sure.
Yeah, it's a fun group, man.
Yeah, so you've got your two picks there, or no, is that one or two?
Yeah, those
That
are my two. Those are my two. So now it's you. You got back to back. I should have cheated right there. I should have lied.
Uh, so you got your two picks there on the defensive line. You follow my two defensive linemen, and now it's interesting because I think I've got a couple of ways that I can go with this. There is one guy that I do want. I'm just a huge fan, so it's not the best pick right now. I know I should probably pick another position. If it's not the best pick, he is, in my opinion, the most underrated player on the team. I've got to go with cornerback number two, Emmanuel Mosley, who
Oh,
I am really, I'm just a fan of, so I got to go with him and make sure that that's solidified. And
yeah.
now it's
Yikes.
tough, right? Now it's tough because you've got two positions filled that I have zero players at. I feel like I got to attack one of those positions, and I think I'm gonna go with. Ooh, this is tough for sure. I think
We're getting into it now. This is where it's like the opportunity cost side where you're missing this, you're getting that.
yeah, and right now, I think I am going to go with the linebacker over the free safety, and I'm going to go with Aziz Shire. He will cover my strong side for now, but I'll go with Aziz Shire
He's a
to
beast,
start this
man.
off.
Curious, let's jump out of this exercise real quick. When do
Yeah,
you think Aziz is going to be ready? Do you think he'll be ready for training camp? He had those two off-season surgeries, and it's a little bit of a wild card. We haven't heard much. Will he be ready week one? What do you think is going to happen with him?
I don't know how much they'll play in training camp or in preseason. That is to be remain a question to be remained. But I do think the 49ers have the utmost confidence in him that they don't care whether he plays in that role, especially because it's the same trio that was there last year that was practicing. Even if they weren't playing, they only played in 3 games together. But I think it's that same trio, and they have the confidence in Alshire that I think that they hold him back a little bit in training camp,
Right.
especially because they've got those young guys that I talked about earlier. Jeremiah Gemmel, they've got Segun Olabi, they've got Marcelino McCrary Ball, 3 undrafted free agents that could compete for a roster spot. And I think the only way to find out if they are worth it is to give them more reps. And
I like
this is
it.
the way.
I like it. All right, now it's my turn. I think I'm going to. Man, this is rough here. Yeah, I'm gonna go safety. I want my boy Hufunga. I'm a big fan. Yeah, there might be better players available. I hate the talent drop off at safety afterwards, and then I got to
Yeah.
go with my Chapman guy, my number one of my favorite players in the NFL, Dre Greenlaw, partnering him with Fred Warner. I'm the biggest Greenlaw fan that exists. I love that guy. I love that guy.
And I mean, your Huff pick is great because I would have picked Huff next just to get one of those top two safeties on the team. But now you've got the top safeties on the roster, and I've got to go else with these selections now. So to start it off, I think since you've got the stronger part of the safety group, I've got to go with cornerback number 3. And I
Ooh,
know a lot of people are going to tell me go Jason Verrett. But if we're talking about cornerback number 3, is it's got to go with the guy who I believe in a lot and that I think can flash not only as a rookie, but primarily in his second year. He's a rookie this year, and that's Samuel Womack, a
he's
5'190"
fun, man. He's
stud out of Toledo.
He's so fun. He's just a damn good player. I'm curious to see when he's going to take over. I know Darquez Denard got all those snaps in camp, but man, eventually it's got to happen, right? It's just got to happen.
Right, right. And
Um,
especially with the depth that we have, like, is it really fathomable to have Darqueze Dennard on this roster, taking away from a roster spot at another position or even at cornerback with one of the younger guys?
yeah, I like it. I like it. All right, I'm going D line here. One of my favorite players, and he's not the starter, but I love him. I want Charles Omenihu as my D end. I just think he's just a hell of a player. I'm a Longhorn. I'm stuck. I can't help it. I got to pick him. Uh, so we'll go Charles Omenihu. And then after that, yeah, let's put I'm going DFF. Let's put him in there at the linebacker spot. Let's
Yeah.
get our stud over there. Why not? Um, man, he's going to take up like 4 boxes if you type out his whole name. Demetrius Flanagan Fouls.
And now you've got 3 of the top linebackers on the team. I am stuck with just Shire, but I think I'll make it work at some point. So
Yeah,
you've got I've got to go back, dip down in the defensive tackle range. I'm going to go with Hassan Ridgeway to start over the likes of a guy like Mo Hurst. I think
I love
Ridgeway, if
Ridgeway.
he gets injured, Ridgeway probably takes over, and hopefully he doesn't get injured because I think he's a very good impact player as a rotational defensive end or defensive
So good
tackle.
against the run. Back-to-back Longhorns with our picks. What's up? That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, hook 'em horns, you know. And then with the next pick, I've got a DN spot, I've got a linebacker spot, and I've got the safety spot. And just so you don't take them with your cornerback spot, because I feel like you could if you're not that confident in Jason Verrett. But I've got it. I'll start off with him. It's the Swiss Army knife on defense. It's Dante Johnson.
I
I'm gonna
think he
go with
needs
him.
to be at safety, man. I think that's where he needs to be. He it's where he should be playing. And he kind of jumped in spot duty and played pretty well. I don't like him in the slot. I don't like him outside, but at safety, I just think, man, his experience is you can use it there. You can use it there.
Right. And the
Um,
49ers, exact same as you, because they've been lining him up at safety all of camp so far.
all right, it's my turn. Let's go Maurice Hurst
Okay.
at the defensive tackle spot. Now I've got my front 7 all locked up. And now it's just time for cornerbacks. I'm going, let's go Jason Verrett. I got to put him out there. That's going to be my cornerback one. And man, look at the names we got up there. It's crazy how there's actually corner depth on the 49ers. Who would have thought it could happen?
Yeah, and I mean, really, it's crazy how there's just depth all around, right? Like, I think you can make an argument at the end when we have this entire list that all 14 names, or how many ever names we've got on here, 20 plus names, can't make the 53-man roster. It's just crazy how much depth the 49ers have.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good thing, and it's a great problem to have, but man, it's going to be a mess whenever it comes down to roster cutdowns. I won't be sad, man.
Yeah, yeah, that's the sad part about it all. You know, the players that you wanted on the roster that just end up not being there, and it'll be tough, especially with that defensive line.
All right, I think it's your turn again, right?
Yeah, so I'll go ahead. I'll start it off with one of my defensive end spots. It's the Komodo Dragon who we signed this year. I know we've got Jordan Willis there, but I like the upside of the Komodo Dragon. I've got to go with Kimoko Toure, a free agent from the Indianapolis Colts, as the edge opposite of Nick Bosa. That could be the starting group there, Bosa and Toure out there. I wouldn't be surprised.
You know what's crazy? Neither one of us picked Samson Ebukam, and neither
Yeah,
one of us picked Kerry Hyder.
yeah,
Yeah, or Jordan Willis. Like there's so many defensive ends. It's incredible, man. That's incredible.
yeah. It and like all of those names you just mentioned could also make the roster because we got just that many spots on that defensive line that we just love to rotate. All right, so with my second pick, I've got a safety spot and I've got a linebacker spot. And with the linebacker spot, I'm going with the guy who we signed this year from the Green Bay Packers. I've got to start with Oren Burks from the Green Bay Packers.
He's
Burks,
fun.
he's a teamer. He's shown flashes, but he's athletic, and that's what the 49ers want in them linebackers, special teamers that can tackle really. So he might not be a coverage guy, but he can be that guy over there that can be good in run defense.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. Now it's my turn. I'm back up, and I got to go Ambry Thomas as my other outside corner. I love the A train. He's incredible. And then after that, I got the last spot. I'm going Darquez Denard, who I think is going to be the starter week one. How long he can hold on to that job, that's an interesting thing. But the coaching staff loves him. He's worked exclusively with the ones through minicamp and OTAs. So how soon can Samuel Womack? I prefer Womack. You got him. That was a great pick by you, by the way. But I do think that Darquez Denard is the guy now. Just not sure how long he can hold that out. So that's my roster. That's it.
Yeah, and I've got the last two spots. So I'll start it off with the strong safety spot. I think that's a little more clear. It's George Odom. So now I have two former Indianapolis Colts guys on my roster. Odom, obviously one of the better special teamers, one of the better tacklers in general, has some safety experience last year, played 7 games. So I think that that's important. But really, I'm just trying to build a infrastructure with a bunch of tackling, and I think I fulfilled that with George Odom there in that cover one scheme. And then at the middle linebacker spot, I've got to go with my guy. I know there are a good amount of options. Curtis Robinson's there. I talked about Sagan Olaby before, but a guy that I'm really high on and could make the 53 man, it's my guy. I know you like him too, John. That's Jeremiah Gemmel out of
The
UNC.
general. Yes.
In general, I got to round out my roster with him manning up the middle right there.
He's interesting because he's not like any other linebacker on the team. Not build, not speed, not size, not anything. But he just has whatever it is, the
Yeah,
instincts, the
he has that.
knowledge, the anticipation. He's not a freak athlete. He's not like if you look at Oren Burks or you look at Greenlaw or Aziz or Warner or even some of Sagan Olaby, like those guys are freaks. You look at
Right.
Jeremiah Gibbo and you're like, huh. But then whenever he plays, you put the pads on, man, he pops. He pops big time.
And it's like he's one of those examples where the 40 time doesn't necessarily indicate everything, right? That range is just there. He might not have amazing speed. I think it's 4.71 that he ran at the combine, but when you see him in just there going to the running back, he's able to get there behind the line of scrimmage, make plays, and he's able to just identify the lanes that players are running to and just beat them to the spot.
Yeah, it's fun, man. I like these teams. I ain't gonna lie. Like, and somebody said this earlier. I think it was Big Papa. He said, this exercise would have been no fun the last couple of years, but the depth has made it a blast because that's 24 players. We only get 11, but we've got 3 corners and 3 linebackers. But like
Yeah,
that is a solid. Both these teams are good, very, very good. I think it's a testament to John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, and just the depth that they have built. Could you imagine doing this for the Rams or for the Seahawks? Good gosh, that would
no.
be
That does
that
that
would not be fun.
we'd have to be just pulling names out of our hats, literally just
Yeah,
like just a different bunny and just throwing it out there, and people would believe it because nobody knows who the depth is on those teams.
it's fun, man. Now I will say this. You leading off with Bosa and Armstead, that was nice. That was nice. And if you look at the salary cap, right, that reflects kind of where the 49ers have spent their money with those 2 big cap ones. And so, yeah, both teams are incredible. I got the safeties, you got the corners, I got the linebackers, and you got Bosa and Armstead. And so it's one of those, like, it's like a checkerboard, right? Where you kind of like pick your strength and the other one's going to have the opposite weakness. This is fun though, but put it in the chat. I'm curious, guys. Team Chapman or Team Rohan? I think they're pretty
Go
close.
for it.
I
Come on,
think they're pretty
chat.
close.
Let's see what it is. And chat, just to make it clear, in the DMs, hit me up. I'll pay you your $5. Just make sure you put my name in the chat.
I love it. I love it, man. This is fun. This is fun. So, all right. I want to hear you throw some shade on my team, though. I need you to talk some trash, Rohan. Come on, man.
All
Where
right.
did
Like,
I go wrong?
before that, we've got William Baker here talking about how other teams are going to be drooling over our waivers, and he's totally right. Like, it's not just happened. Like, over the last couple of years, we've seen the Seahawks and teams like that claim our players year after year. Hell, our last year, our top free agent undrafted guy, Justin Hilliard, got signed by the New York
Yeah.
Giants after being on waivers. Now, with this amount of depth, I think we're going to see something we haven't seen before in the amount of players claimed. So that's going to be something interesting for sure. But if I'm talking some smack on your team, I mean, it's just tough because all these players are good. You know, it's not like you have anything. But if I'm just going to throw some shade, Darqueze Dennard should not start on any NFL roster. If he's starting for the 49ers, that is a little bit of a concern. But Darqueze Dennard should not be starting on any
Would
49er
you have
roster.
taken somebody else that we have on our roster currently over him if you were in my spot? Would you have gone Tariq Castro Fields or Diamador Lenore or one of those guys?
I don't think so. Just it's not blaming you or the pick because I don't think that there's another option. If we're talking specifically slot cornerbacks, right? I don't think Castro Fields is a slot corner. He's an outside corner, maybe a safety, but he's definitely not a slot corner. Tackling is the one thing that he needs to improve on, and that's really
Yeah.
important at the slot. I don't think that, yeah, I think that is a thing. I don't think Lenore, you take over him. The 49ers just made that clear. If they wanted Lenore over Dennard, guess who would have started when camp started? Lenore would have gotten the spot. And I
He's
mean,
not even getting slot work. He's
yeah,
working outside still.
yeah. And I mean, last year, the 49ers made it very clear, week 18, Dennard claims off another practice squad just a week and a half before. And who's the one who's active in week 18? Is it Lenore who's been with the team the entire time? Or is it Dennard who got 32%
Yeah.
of the defensive snaps that game? No, it was Dennard. So I think
Straight off
Lenore,
the street.
yeah,
Ah,
exactly. Without any knowledge of the playbook or anything.
yeah. And that was it week 18? I think it was the
Yeah,
first time we played the Rams, right? Or the second time we played the Rams, but before the NFC
yeah.
Championship.
So yeah, I don't know what Lenore's standing on this team is. He might be even in danger of losing his roster spot just based on the amount of depth that we have at other positions and that necessity to keep roster spots elsewhere.
Yeah, because last year the 49ers kept 6 corners on their initial 53, 5 outside, 1 inside.
Right.
And so if we do that again, and if you see Lenore as an outside corner, I have him 5th. Okay, that's fine. I mean, Charvarius Ward outside, Verrett outside, Ambry Thomas outside, Mosley outside. I would put him 5th there, and then you keep Darqueze Dennard. But if you do that, Samuel Womack's walking. So
Exactly.
that's not happening.
Exactly.
And
And
you're
one other
keeping Dennard. You're keeping Dennard.
yeah, and one other thing to mention, I think they might cut it to 5 just to keep Dante Johnson on the roster, unless they move one of those 4 safeties, because I think they view Johnson as a corner safety hybrid. And so if they might carry 5 safeties in Johnson,
Oh,
Odom, Tarvarius Moore, Hufanga, and of course Jimmy Ward. So unless
gosh.
one of those guys doesn't work out, I think you got to keep Dante Johnson on the roster. Like be it you cut him and then you bring him back or whatever it
That's
may
what they
be.
did last year. He didn't make the initial. You remember? They kept who was it? Harris? Somebody that's
Yeah,
never even played in a preseason or whatever game. I don't even think
yeah,
that guy exists. I'm just gonna be honest. But they cut Johnson, they brought him back immediately because they have to, team mascot. Man, I don't know. It's rough because we have 6 corners on the board. Look at the
yeah.
6 we have right now. Obviously, neither of us would take Darqueze Dennard over them. You're not keeping 7 corners.
No, you're not.
You got to keep defensive linemen. Ugh, he could be
Yeah,
cut.
It is. He could be. Yeah, Lenore might not be. Lenore might make his way on the practice squad if nobody else wants him, but he could be cut. And that's crazy because he was just a fifth round pick last year.
Mm. Such a good tackler. That's one thing that I wish people talked to. Like he hasn't missed a tackle in 2 years. His last year at Oregon, he didn't miss one tackle. And then last year with the 49ers, special teams or defense didn't miss a tackle. Like he's just such a, which not usually what you want out of your corners. His best attribute to be
Still
tackling.
about, yeah, it's
But
still
yeah,
about.
man, find a spot, find a way, find a way. Jurassic
Yeah.
Park.
Uh, but real quick, let's talk about the linebackers. You picked Demetrius Fleming and Fowles as one of your guys. Do you think he makes the roster this year?
I do. They like him with special teams. Yeah, I mean, he got limited work last year when people were hurt, but when you were in the playoffs, he was getting meaningful snaps. Um, and so, yeah, you're going to keep 4 or 5 guys. You're going to keep 5 linebackers because they're such special team studs. And so I think Oren Burks and DFF will be on everything.
Mhm.
Um, but I do. I just they like him. They like him a lot. Those converted safety to linebacker plays. They can't help themselves, man. They just can't
Yeah,
do it. So I do think DFF makes it because again, they do keep 5. It, I I mean, can some of the younger guys overtake them? I don't know, but I think they'll stash him because they're undrafted. I don't think if you cut DFF, I think he's gone with Sala out there, and I don't know.
yeah.
I think he makes it. I do, and I think he starts week 1. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not sure Aziz is going to be back yet, and I don't think they're going to rush him. Very similar to what you said. DFF started for him last year. I think he continues in that role as the fill-in number 4 or 5 guy with him and Oren Burks. And another thing too, DFF is going to be a restricted free agent next year.
Yeah.
With both Aziz and Dre Greenlaw's contracts expiring, I think you might bring one back. I don't think you bring both back. And if that's the case, you're talking about DFF and Oren Burks being bumped up to, possibly number 2 and 3. Maybe you let both of them go and you just be like, hey, let's get some more comp picks. I hope not. But we said the same thing about DJ Jones and we said the same thing about Lincoln Tomlinson. And they literally just said, nah, you guys go ahead. That's a rough one. I do think he makes it though.
That's such an interesting take that you just said, the restricted part, because I've been viewing at it from a different angle. I've actually been kind of calling that DFF might be traded this offseason. And the reason being, DFF, like you said, is a restricted free agent. He's been linebacker number 5. And while the 49ers have played him, they started him twice last year. Marcel Harris got more of the defensive snaps last year. He played 36%. DFF played
Yep.
15%. That kind of is a clear, at least to me, with Marcel Harris coming with no experience at linebacker and playing over DFF, it to me showed that DFF, while they like him, especially with his special teams ability and as a backup linebacker, don't maybe view him as more than that. And to me, with him being a restricted free agent next year, they're going to have to pay him $2.5 million to potentially just be a backup. And if they keep one of the Alshire or Greenlaw and having run only 2 linebackers with a majority of their sets, I think that DFF they could try and cash in like they did with Jonas Griffith last year, try and get maybe a 5th or a
That would
6th
be
round pick,
awesome.
and
That would
that would
be
help
because
them.
yeah, I mean, we just went through the depth, right? And so if you keep DFF, Oren Burks 100% lock with his guaranteed money.
Right.
That means you're missing out on Jeremiah Gemmel. You're missing out on all these guys, which the 49ers with running backs and linebackers have found so many gems at undrafted. Aziz was undrafted, right? Fred Warner, 3rd round. Drake Greenlaw, 5th round. They have found so much value there, and they've got a lot of guys coming up. So yeah, if you get a 6th rounder, oh my gosh. If you could, I would do this. I would give a 7th and DFF for a 6th rounder. I love those types of trades. I love those trades so much. Which is exactly how they got Drake Greenlaw. In fact, they traded Dakota. What was his
Dakota
last name?
Hudson?
Watson. Dakota
Yeah.
Watson and a 7th, and they got a 5th. Maybe it was Dakota and a 6th. It got a 5th, and that 5th round pick is what they picked Drake Greenlaw with. So yeah, I'm all about those, man. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, DFF, the one part about it, right? Like you said, it opens up a spot for Gemmel or Olabi or whoever they might like. And last year, I think the 49ers learned their lesson. They tried to do the same thing. They tried to stash one of the linebackers, and they lost him in Justin
Yep.
Hilliard. I think Gemmel is a guy who, if they try to stash, like you said, linebackers and running backs, the 49ers work really well with the undrafted guys. But the thing is, the entire league knows that the 49ers work well with them. So if the 49ers are working with one of them, they might try and take them before the 49ers have a chance to, implement them because they see the talent. And so I think if Gamble gets cut, he might get claimed. You're right, though. If DFF gets cut, he 100% will get claimed. But I think Gamble or Olaby, I think one of them ends up getting claimed if both are cut.
I like it. I like it. I mean, it's a great problem to have, and you can hope you get some extra capital. 49ers are scheduled to get 11 draft choices next year.
Wow.
It's not too bad. No first rounder, which hurts. Hurts really bad still, but not bad. Not bad at all.
Yeah, definitely. Tobias here has a question. Could it be worth it to keep an extra corner on the 53 instead of a defensive lineman? Our young corners are talent to lose. I'd rather lose Hyder for free than Tariq Castro Fields.
Yeah, okay. So if we could argue, Tobias, awesome question, man. Well phrased too, because whenever you put names to it, it makes it real. It's easy to
Yeah,
say, oh, another corner instead of a D lineman when they're question marks. You legitimately said Hyder or Castro Fields. Now, you could make that argument. And let's just say you were a Patriots GM, you would make that argument because they value the corner over defensive lineman. John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan do not. Do not. And we've seen Hyder get 8.5 sacks in this scheme. We've seen Hyder have 3 successful years under our defensive line coach, Chris Kusarik. I don't know, man. Even if I agreed with you personally, I don't think Shanahan and Lynch agree with you. Does that make sense? So I'm not saying you're
yeah,
wrong. I'm saying Kyle Shanahan thinks you're wrong. But that's kind of the way I see it. I would prefer to keep the D lineman. And you even had Nick Bosa at the press conference saying, we're going to have to keep some extra D line guys, roster spots, because there's just too much there. I don't know. Would Castro Fields get picked up? He was a 6th rounder. He fell. Yeah, man, this is tough. This is tough.
for sure. And I think a little differently. I don't even think Kerry Hyder makes the roster because of the depth. So if we're talking Hyder or Castro Fields, yeah, you're right. I personally would pick Castro Fields. But if we're talking about defensive linemen, I think the 49ers carry 10 this year. They carried 11 last year. I think just because of the amount of depth that they have elsewhere, carry 10 this year. And you've already got Armstead, Bosa, Ebukam, Omenihu, Willis. That's 5. Then you've got Kinlaw, Ridgeway. I would say at least one of Maurice Hurst and Kevin Givens make the roster. So that's 8. Then you've got Drake Jackson. And then so that's 9. And then if you think both Givens, Hurst make the roster, that's 10. But if not, then you've got to roster Kalia Davis and then put him on a list.
I
So
think
that's
you can stash Kalia Davis because he was
okay.
injured before he was drafted. So that might be one of those sneaky. You could put him on the
Got it.
NFI list because he was injured, even though it was football before he was drafted. So he wouldn't count against
Got
that,
it.
which helps a lot.
So in that
Yeah,
case,
man.
yeah, Curry Hyder might be the 10th, or if they like a defensive tackle instead, and Kevin Givens, I think he could be the 10th because of his age.
Well, Kevin Givens and Maurice Hurst were getting the first team reps with
Yeah,
Kinlaw out and Armstead having a baby. Like they were getting first team reps. So do you walk from those guys? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so.
and especially because they value these players more than corners, I think that is why the 49ers probably will end up keeping that extra D lineman over a corner.
Gosh, it's gonna be a crazy month, man. Because and I don't want to say this. This might sound bad, and if it does, I apologize. Okay, humanity first over sports at all times. But the sad reality is, people are going to get hurt in camp. People are going to get hurt in training camp, and so John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan's philosophy has been: it's okay to have a surplus. Stuff happens. Stuff happens. And it kind of sorts itself out sometimes. Because right now, the 49ers are in a position where everybody almost exclusively is healthy or
Right.
expected to be back. Yeah, there's Ken Law, there's McGlinchey, there's Aziz, there's guys that have been struggling with stuff, but nothing like in past years. And while everybody is healthy now, remember we lost 5 centers last year or 2 years ago, right? We lost 5 centers in one training camp. So we lost 3 running backs and 5 centers in 1 year in training camp. So things happen, and these are good problems to have, and natural selection almost. I hate using that term, but unfortunately, there's going to be some issues, and that might make the numbers work a little bit better. Not that that's the goal. That's just observing how it kind of has gone.
Right, right. And I mean, it is unfortunate, but it is reality too, especially with the 49ers. We tend to get injured. And these are positions where obviously a lot of contact is happening. And when you're first getting back into contact after such a long time, that might happen more than like just wear and tear might happen just a little more than before. So that could very well be the case for the 49ers. And that might solve some of the equation for them, as unfortunate as that sounds.
I like it. I like it. I'm doing a snapshot here, buddy, of this roster. Because
Okay.
I want to see it. I'm gonna put it out there. We're gonna see what the people say.
Yeah.
It's
And
good.
one other thing while you do that, there is a name that a lot of people either anticipate will make the roster or will be injured and won't make the roster and be stashed on a list. And that is Jason Barrett, obviously coming off the torn ACL last year. What is your initial thought? What do you think about him?
Yeah, he's making it, man. Um, I just we saw what he could do. We saw what he could do. Now the contract, I was crazy shocked whenever I saw that deal. What was I've got it right here.
It was,
1,035,000, and it's a roster exemption. He's
yeah,
free. He's not hurting the cap at all. Just right at 1 million.
that veteran minimum, pretty much. Yeah.
But this is a guy, okay, and this is kind of the weird thing with the 49ers. Small chance he gets cut. Also small chance he starts. Like it's all over the place. Some people are like, "Oh, Verrett, if he's the best, if he's healthy, he's the best we got." I wouldn't say that, but like it's up there. You know what I mean? I would love for him to move inside and play. I remember watching his film at TCU, whatever, and then even really his rookie year with the Chargers, he played in the slot. He was lights out.
Yeah, and I mean, I would like that too. I don't know if it's realistic or not, just because Verrett obviously coming off an injury. Do you want him to be tackling? Do you want him to
Yeah,
be like going in there as a blitzer and potentially increasing the chance of re-injury? So that's the one question that I have about that. I would not mind Emmanuel Mosley in the slot. I said
same.
personally earlier that I like him as an outside corner. I think he's fared well, and I think he'll even play the best that he's played now that he's going up against cornerback number twos this year with Charvarius Ward in the mix. But I would not mind him in the slot either because he's got what the 49ers want, that physicality to play against tight ends. He's got knowledge of the slot corner build with the 49ers. He can blitz and he can do really what they want. He especially tackling. He's a physical guy. He plays bigger than he is and he can tackle.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. It's going to be crazy. I mean, just how do you sort this out? We get to see it. There's a lot of different moving pieces, and it's a good thing, not a bad thing. But whew, love where the defense is at. Very, very happy with it. Could have been better. Yeah, you could have kept DJ Jones. I get that. But you turned your biggest positional weakness, cornerback, into a strength.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
love it. And I love it.
And now all three levels are really a strength, right? You talk about the secondary, like you said, we got a top corner in the league. We've got a number one guy at linebacker. You still got a all pro there at linebacker alongside two strong
Yeah.
up. Hence why PFF named us the number one linebacking group in the NFL. And then defensive line. I mean, we talked about the amount of depth. We talked about the top end talent as well. It's all there.
I think I've said this a few times. There's two
Mm,
key positions that if you just get average play from, the 49ers have a top 5 defense, almost guaranteed. The number 2 safety spot with Hufanga and that slot corner, which again plays 70%, 76% of the snaps last year. But if you just get average, not great, just average starter play there, top 5 defense almost guaranteed. Just because of the depth at the other spots. But again, that's asking a lot. Can Hufunga and Darquez Denard or Samuel Womack nail those down? And if they do, whew, D'Amico Ryan's getting a job next year. that's
oh,
that's just it's happening.
yeah. And I'm more optimistic about Hufanga just given how Jimmy Ford and like the conversation is around him, and also because the instincts kind of kick in year number two, right? And that's what Hufanga's game is about, especially because now you're implementing cover one scheme that the 49ers wanted last year. Hufanga isn't going to have to play coverage. He isn't going to have to rely on athleticism. Instead, he's there right in the middle, and he's going to be totally fine right there, going around the box trying to get inside or behind the line of scrimmage, tackling, and doing those kind of responsibilities. I think that helps. And also, just a quick tidbit because we talked about the linebackers earlier and Azeez Al-Shire potentially missing time. You might even have Kufanga play in a linebacker-esque role to start the year off in the box, and while Al-Shire kind of recovers before moving to more of a versatile safety role
Would you
later.
bring 27 out, Dante Johnson? Would you bring Tarvarius Moore out? Because if you do go with the dime package, which the 49ers have experimented with, I love it.
Yeah.
Who do you bring in if you're not going to bring in a linebacker? So if you shift Hufanga down, which I love, who do
Mm-hmm.
you bring in? Who's Rohan, your GM? Who you pulling in as that fifth
Yeah,
defensive back?
I think 27 can be that guy, right? You've
Yeah,
got
I do too.
Ward, yeah, because 27's been that guy before, right? We saw it last year where he's played in a number of positions, and if you want to run the five out, you've got Ward, you've got Mosley, you've got Womack, and then you've got 27 and Ward, and if Verrett's healthy, you've got Verrett and Ward. And then
Oof.
if you like Ambry Thomas, even you got Thomas and Ward. So really, there's just so many possibilities out there that I just like it because 49ers are versatile. They like versatile players, and now they've got a chance to kind of place different players in different positions. With D'Amico Ryans' mind, I'm fairly confident that that'll work out.
Man, if I could pick one rookie this year that just balls out, it would be Samuel Womack. Because if he does, like I said earlier, right, that slot corner, that number 2 safety spot, if you just get average play, but if Womack turns out to be the dog, man, it's going to be good for a long time because that's been such a weakness. I mean, K1's been great. His play did dissipate considerably, but man, the slot fade just cooked him every single time. And I get it. Our division, you're guarding slot fades against Cooper Kupp and Tyler Lockett and Rondale Moore. I mean, that's a pretty tough group to guard. But at some point, we got to get somebody that could freaking run with that damn slot fade to where it doesn't kill you in key parts of the game because opposing offensive coordinators, they seen it on film, they chart it up, and man, they get us too easily with that. So if I could pick one, man, Womack, go get him, man. Go get him.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, the one thing about cornerback, right, in the NFL, you need two things, especially if you're a rookie. First of all, as a rookie, you're going to get just tested. And if Ward and Mosley are out there, Womack is going to get a lot of coverage out there if he's the cornerback number one. But the thing is, the way to overcome that is to have that dog in him. And so I think that that's a good way, really, to end today's show. Just talking about that dog in Womack. And before I hop off, thank you all in the chat. You guys absolutely,
Yes.
and thank you so much, John, for joining me today on this stream. It was a ton of fun. This all
Awesome.
defense was great,
I'm a
and
big fan of Rohan. I don't know if everybody knows that. I've constantly said positive things. I love people that bring positivity and bring content, not creating drama and all that other stuff, man. I'm so excited to see what it is you could do because your talent level is so much higher than some of us older guys. And so I'm pretty pumped to see what you do. I'm Rohan fan club. Anything that I can ever do to help, man, be more than happy to in any way I can. And man, hopefully one day we can hang out in person. I'd be excited for that. But love what you do, man. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I might turn up at Chicago. I know you guys got your thing, but we'll talk about that on the side. Thank you so much for the praise and for the chat. Thank you all for tuning in. We will catch you guys later tonight with the show with Sunil. All right.